Hello everyone and thank you for joining me. My name is Eugen and today I will be playing around with the Hero 100 fountain pen, the aerometric version. This Hero pen is one of the pens that sits on the more expensive side of things, but not by much compared with other fountain pens. It's a little bit more expensive because the pen has a 14K nib, which, I guess makes it a little bit more of a premium um, hero pen. I purchased this pen a couple of years back from eBay. I believe I paid around 65 Canadian dollars with free shipping, if memory serves me well. I believe you can still find these pens around. However, I did not have a chance to look and see at what prices they are still going for. This is the older version of the Hero 100. There is a newer version that has a converter cartridge setup that is fairly similar with this one, but it rocks a higher price tag. I believe somewhere around 100 to 100 Canadian dollars, if I remember correctly, depending where you are buying it from. The shape of the fountain pen, it's shaped like a submarine with a clip attached to it. The body and the cap are made out of metal. I believe it's some sort of austenitic stainless steel. It's non-magnetic and it has a really nice feeling to it. I guess it's what you will call a lighter version. On the cap, we have some Chinese characters, which I can only assume stands for Hero Fountain Pen Company, and the model number, which is 100. On the other side, we have a looks like number 1, and then underneath it says Made in China. The clip is very simple and pretty straightforward. You can easily open it. It's a little bit stiff, but it can accommodate a lot of pockets from what I can see. Doing the shirt test, it easily slides on the material, and once it's in the shirt, this is how much it will stick out. Removing it from the shirt seems to be very easily, no snags, and it works as it should. Top of the cap, we have an integrated, or at least looks like an integrated finial. We don't have an actual jewel, but it is shaped the same as the jewels in the past from Parker 51. And the barrel end, it's shaped similarly as the top of the cap. Once you remove the cap, which by the way it's a push-pull type cap, comes out very easily and reveals a black section made out of plastic and a 14K nib. It's a very simple pen, very stylish, and I really like the shape of it. If I can get the camera focus. And this is the nib and feed, and it has a very interesting opening for the feed and the nib. Reminds me of early fighter jets. The pen I'm posted, it's fairly well balanced. It's right in the middle, and the cap does pose very well, very deep and secure. And the balance shifts a little bit towards the top of the pen, just slightly off center. And that's most probably because of the section that is made out of plastic and not metal. However, the balance in hand, it's very good. I like it. I don't see it as a pen that will have that you will have problems using it posted or unposted. Personally, these pens I usually prefer using them posted. We will see once I will be doing the drawing with it which one I actually prefer more, but I usually in the past I've been using it posted for writing. The barrel and the section are very well flushed together. I don't see any issues with it. Nothing seems to be out of place or hanging in a weird angle. And when you remove the barrel, it will reveal the aerometric filling system, which on this pen I actually like because the metal that encases the sac, it's actually more robust. It doesn't bend as easily as the cheaper versions, and at the same time doesn't feel like it's gonna come out. I'm pretty sure it's glued inside there. However, the opening where your finger goes, it's much nicer. On the cheaper versions, a lot of times it felt like my fingers are getting cut by the edges. However, the opening seems to be a little bit more generous, and I don't feel it as bad. And on the sleeve we have again Chinese characters, which I'm not 100% sure what they mean, but I assume is Hero Company, and then the model number of the pen, 100. And this is the fountain pen. Fairly simple, quite elegant from my perspective, and it's a pen that I've been using quite a lot in the past, and it always brought a smile on my face. I really like the simplicity of the pen, and especially how that nib looks like as you write. It always gives you the feeling of like a small ball running on the page, especially depending on how light hits it, and it's quite hypnotic in its own way. For today's drawing, I was planning to go back and use the Iroshizuku Fuyu Shogun or Winter Shogun ink, since I really enjoyed using this ink with the Pilot that I previously reviewed. I was curious to see how it will do with a much finer nib. The easiest way to fill up this fountain pen is usually to have it with the nib a little bit like this, not like this, like this. Usually helps with the air escape a little bit better from the pen. So basically you will have to press underneath. Put the pen in the ink, press, release, wait about 5 seconds and do it again. And you will repeat this until you don't hear any bubbles. And once you don't hear any more bubbles, wipe the feed gently on the edge of the bottle, or at least that's what I enjoy doing, and then clean the section. The section cleans up very well, and once you're done, put the barrel back, and you are ready to go. And doing a quick writing sample. This is the Hero 100 fountain pen. The nib is actually really nice, really smooth, and fairly wet with this ink. Looks like I'm gonna be having a lot of fun with this ink. And reverse works just as smooth. I have not done any work on this nib since the day I got it. It's been like this, since the day I got it. Alright, so I always like this pen. I never had any issues with the nib or ink starvation on this pen, and maybe I'm one of the luckiest ones since I've been reading a lot of reviews saying that this pen has some ink starvation. Never had that issue, at least not with this copy that I have. Actually, the nib is very wet, especially compared with this ink. For today's drawing, I plan to keep it simple and just wanted to test and see how it will work out with this pen. So what I will be drawing, it's I believe it's called a Peace Lily. Very simple, a lot of white, a lot of shading, and hopefully a darker background that will help it stand out a little bit more. I'm not sure if I'm going to use this gray. I might use it just to build up slowly and see how much I can go with it. And if I would need some more help, I still have my Hongdian 100 with some black ink in it. So if I need to go a little bit darker, even though the ink shades, you can build it up quite nicely, but if I need more dark, I'll probably cheat and use the black ink. Anyway, let me get into it and I will let you know what I think of this pen. Before talking about the pen, I wanted to address the ink and the drawing. First of all, the ink. I think it's slowly starting to become my favorite ink for drawing. I like how it makes me feel like I'm using a pencil and not a fountain pen. So do not be surprised if I start to use it more in the future. From all the grayish inks that I have, this is definitely top favorite. I never really like it that much for writing because it feels a little bit maybe too light, but drawing it's what it is with this ink. Second of all, the drawing. You know how I mentioned that I will be darkening the outside of the flower to help it stand out more? Well, I tried on a separate piece of paper all kind of things, and every time I was getting back to the drawing and trying to darken the background or do something with it, a voice in my head was keep on telling me, do not touch it, it's done, don't ruin it. So, I end up leaving it as is on a white background. It felt a little bit unnatural to me, but I think by leaving it as is, the flower actually stands out even more. And lastly, the fountain pen. To me, this was no surprise since I am very familiar with the pen for owning it for, a couple of years now. I felt right at home and enjoyed using it all over again. I think for me this is another fountain pen that I would find it very hard to part with if I have to. Things that I like about the Hero 100 Aerometric fountain pen. As I have mentioned in my previous review of the Hero 565, these type of pens are the pens that I have grew up with, and as such I have found memories of them and it's hard to dislike them. That being said, no, I have never had an actual 14K nib on these pens until I purchased this specific model. I know a lot of people are not very fond of the hooded design, and I respect that. Personally, especially in this pen, I like the hooded nib quite a lot. As you write or draw, because of the black section of the pen, the tip of the nib stands out even more and becomes hypnotic as it runs across the page in all directions. I have always been fascinated by this. I like the flighter slash metal construction of the pen, and somehow I am okay that on this pen the section is plastic. I think, in my opinion, it helps with making what little of the nib you see stand out even better. Overall, maybe I am a little bit biased, but I like this pen completely. There is nothing that I dislike on it. It works great, and the copy that I have so far never had any issues. Things that you might not like about the Hero 100 aerometric fountain pen? Well, I guess the first thing that will pop is the actual nib. If you do not like hooded nibs, you will definitely not like this pen either. Second thing that you might not like, it's the filling system. I have read a lot of hate opinions about it, and again, well, I respect that. I will admit it's not perfect, but somehow it's part of the charm of using these pens, in my opinion. The good thing about this pen specifically is that they took a little bit more care on how the metal sleeve is shaped and connected to the pen. It makes it for a more enjoyable experience and functions a little bit better. The metal bits are more solid and they don't bend as easily as they do on the other variants, or well, the cheaper version. And lastly, I think that maybe the clip might not be on everyone's favorite list. On my copy at least, it's maybe a little bit on the stiffer side, something that, well, doesn't bother me though, since 99% of the time clips for me are just glorify the roll stoppers. In the end, personally, I do recommend the pen, especially if you have a soft spot for these Parker 51 style designed. A perfect balanced pen, in my opinion, that always brings a smile on my face when I'm using it. Again, probably I am a little bit biased considering my history with this type of pens, so well, take that in account when making your decision. Have you ever used one of these pens? What do you think of them? I'm curious to hear your opinion, so please feel free to leave a comment below and share your experience. With that said, I will stop talking and I will let you enjoy the rest of the time lapse. I wish you all the best, a wonderful day or night, wherever you are, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.